I'm here with the people that have Millenium Bug playing Sunday night at 1 a.m. And well, first, y'all tell a little bit about who you are to the project.
Am I talking to you? Or?
You can talk to him.
I'll talk to you.
Okay.
My name is Ken Cran. I am the writer, director, co-producer, along with brother James, miniature effects and creature effects, and editor, and blah, blah, blah.
James Cran, producer. That's enough.
No, it definitely is.
John Charles Meyer, lead villain in the Millenium Bug, and associate producer.
Okay. So I have to go back a little bit. I know we've talked about it, but the story that you put online about John getting actually cast as the villain, that he was not your first choice.
The interview was like, I don't know what he's talking about. Yeah, it's news to you. Actually, one of the first handful of people we saw play Billa was a guy that was kind of large and hulking, and he had a shaved head, and I thought, wow, this is great. And he tested very well, but he was very threatening. And John's interview, his response about latching onto the comedic aspects of it was spot on. That's exactly right. So he played him threatening, but he played him more like a Charles Manson kooky, with a sense of humor. So he was absolutely right.
Do you think that that the humor aspect is important when you have something like a big giant bug?
Probably, at least it is as far as I'm concerned. Again, I didn't want to put a lot of heavy, seriousness on top of heavy seriousness. On top of, there had to be something comedic. Plus, I'm a huge fan of Peter Jackson's early 3 films, so that was our model. That's who we followed.
So that means there's a lot of gore in this, and a lot of blood.
It's a sloppy movie. It's rather sloppy.
We took it over the top, figuring that we can always cut it back.
Is that what it came to, cutting it back?
They did not cut it back. I mean, I'll say that sometimes I'm surprised by how much people seem to think that there is gore in this, because I feel like I've seen plenty of movies that are, much, much bloodier than this. But this one does it with practical effects, and this one does it in a pretty over-the-top manner in a handful of instances. So I think that definitely hits people hard.
So talk a little bit about the premise of the film.
The actual story?
Yes.
Hillbillies, the original Hills Have Eyes, Wes Craven, 70s version, meets Godzilla. So it's hillbillies meet a happy family from the suburbs, they abduct them, and then all are chewed to pieces by a rather large, monstrous 30-foot beast that comes out of the ground every 1,000 years. That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Simple plot.
That's totally simple, with 2 villains and everything.
Yeah, I always like I like a secondary villain.
Yeah.
So we have a bad villain, then we one-up that later on. That's the idea. Intention.
So how did you get involved with the producer aspect of it?
I am a producer on another feature film that shot earlier this year, and that was for the first time. I did another feature film earlier this year as an actor, and the producer approached me and asked if I would be interested in sort of learning what he does. He's a friend of mine. And I said, I don't really know what I'm doing. And he said, I say jump, you say how high. And I said, I can do that. And so I kind of learned the ropes at the beginning of this year on that film. And then when these guys were finishing up post-production, they sort of reached out and looked for a little help with festivals and social media and press and whatnot. And I said, well, I've started to learn some of these ropes. I'm happy to help, and just kind of jumped on. And I mean, I'm always happy to see something I've acted in do well anyway. So
yeah.
Well, he's been tireless too. He's got an investment in it, and he has definitely he works more than anybody else. In terms of promoting it, I would say, because we still unfortunately have full-time day jobs.
Right.
So John has a part-time job, but he's able to do a whole lot more, and he does it with great finesse and with humor. So that very little blood.
So far,
still some goo here and there. We won't talk about the goo aspects, but tireless dedication, which is phenomenal.
So have you had the opportunity to take advantage as an independent film, like how much social media helps people like us that don't have that money to put behind like advertising and whatnot?
Thus far, and this won't continue forever, but thus far we haven't put any money into advertising. I think eventually we'll start doing targeted stuff just through some of the social media sites, targeted ads on Facebook and what have you. But so far it's just been building a network of people, and it's amazing to have those tools. We're still figuring out ways of maximizing their potential. I mean, you know, there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of horror movie aficionados out there.
Right.
We've touched, you know, less than 1% of that.
Right.
So we're still building that network. But this is also only our third festival. We got 12 more ahead of us. So
At least 12 more.
at least 12 more. 12 more that we know about.
Right.
Have y'all gotten to partake in the things that makes Dragoncon? Like,
No.
that's an important part of the experience.
Yeah, we see it, I don't know, every 10 feet. I can't legally probably tell you what I've seen.
If you're talking about eye candy, then
yeah,
yes.
there's lots of that.
We've appreciated what there is. But as far as panels and parades and parties and everything else, it sort of feels like we've just been promote.
Yeah.
Well, later in the evening, you know, the more and more skin comes out too on the costumes.
Good to know.
Maybe
We should be
take our
conscious.
pants off. I don't know. Maybe we'll sell more DVDs.
I don't think so, actually.
There would be a lot of competition for you, just because it seems that like outfits not being quite appropriate for body types doesn't seem to stop people at all.
I've noticed that.
Which is fun.
It is.
I have no problem with that.
Those people get just as many pictures taken of them as.
Can you grow boobs, Ken? In the next 2 hours?
You wouldn't want to see them.
We just gave a couple of no CGI stickers to a woman who's going to place them in a strategic location later this evening.
And security can't seem to do anything because security's like, I don't know what to do. It's like, you can't do anything. She's not showing anything. She's just, you know.
So, and you brought up the no CGI part, which is an important part of what appeals so much to people like us, is the fact that you did everything with practical effects, no CGI whatsoever.
You know, that philosophy, it's funny because when we did this, it wasn't like, hey, let's go ahead and grab the no CGI market, because we didn't know that there was one. I would honestly say that. We did it because we know how to do this stuff. We know how to do practical effects, animatronics, and you know, because I built that, you know, and then another guy, actually, Dustin, who's one of our associate producers, helped mechanize it. In fact, Jim and I actually put the first mechanics in it, the cables and everything. We learned how to do it on our own. The no CGI thing kind of occurred to us, I think, sort of like halfway through the shooting. It's like, oh my God, you know, this is great. We don't have any computer-generated anything.
Yeah.
And that seems to be really hitting a chord with people, because I think the backlash against CGI is that it's lazy and it's big budget. And we are most definitely not lazy, and we are most definitely not big budget.
Yeah, I mean, originally it was let's work with the resources that we have. And one of the resources we didn't have was the ability to do the computer-generated effects. Not that we chose, you know, not to do them because we don't like them, but at that point, it was more about just doing what we know. And like I said, you know, he's been doing this sort of thing all his life. From the time we were little kids in the basement, he was been sculpting and, you know, drawing and making little films and that sort of thing. So that's what we did. Just on a much grander scale.
Absolutely.
I was not a little kid in the basement.
He was not a little kid.
Ever.
No, ever.
He's always had the face for
Born like this.
So that's good for you as a producer. You never had the opportunity to be scared about what it was going to be like having to make everything and not be able to do things with CGI. I would imagine the idea of putting a guy in a suit and putting him in a hot warehouse and putting him around things that you build is kind of scary for a producer.
Well, you know, yeah, there was definitely some trepidation there, and as part of the process at the beginning, Ken was tasked with making a test suit. And so he went to a sporting goods store, bought a baseball outfit, put it over a mannequin that, you know, was donated to us, and he began to take pieces of foam and started sculpting the suit. And we did, after how many months did it take you to do this thing?
about 2.5 months.
2.5 months. We took it to a green screen stage and just did some real rough compositing tests. And at that point, we didn't have any animatronics. It was just, you know, it was just kind of a floppy sort of head.
Yeah.
And got a student to get in the suit, and but it looked so cool, even in its test form, and the way the head would actually kind of flop around and shooting it at the frame.
It took a little bit of imagination, I think, to put it in a forest, you know.
Yeah.
Insurance? We don't need no stinking insurance.
Oh man,
Wasn't that the question? Yeah. Are we worried about things? Nah,
John, don't get
in it.
Climb up that,
that was,
rope, don't get hurt.
that was very, very early on, these tests. But what the test revealed was that the test suit was so good that it was good enough actually for the movie, with some additional painting and whatnot. But the test suit is what ultimately appears in the film.
But you know, and kind of back to more of your question, does it cause consternation of putting a guy in a suit, you know, where he might pass out, or any number of things.
Or lighting a fire inside a warehouse.
Yeah, all those things that we did, and we did them with safety, but you know, we had mishaps. I mean, then the guy who was in our suit, you know, he destroyed, and it wasn't his fault, it was the way I built the damn miniature, but, you know, he destroyed one of the most detailed and important buildings, and he destroyed it in the wrong way. I was like, oh my god, so...
As in left versus right, wrong way.
Yeah, so...
I didn't even know that, really?
Yeah, and so the day after Christmas, I spent my entire, the day after Christmas, I rebuilt the whole thing from the ground up, and I didn't tell him about it until after I was done. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I got a phone call. I got a phone call. He's like, I rebuilt it. We need to reshoot. I'm like, I did? You're kidding. Because the thing was destroyed. It was in a million pieces.
I did not know that.
He put all that together. Because the actor fell, and the cables for the animatronics fell right 2 inches from the camera lens. Right in front of us.
Terrifying.
By 8 o'clock that night, we were ready to reshoot.
That wasn't the only one.
The lesson, kids, Rob Zombie fixes everything.
Yeah.
As well we should.
There are more stories, but you don't want to hear that.
That's why it took us so long. You know, because Ken is not really one to compromise on the quality. You know, he's a perfectionist. You know, and from a producer standpoint, it gets very frustrating because I know that every additional month we're in there, it's more money, more rent, more everything, more food. So that gets frustrating, but you know, at the end, like the images that we have are because of his insistence on love. So
that's a labor of love, which is one of the big differences. And it's one of the big things that fans it appeals to them. Like fans can tell when things are a labor of love, especially when it comes to independent film, and that's why it's attractive to them. And I think with like obviously I haven't seen the film yet, but the combination of kaiju monsters in general kind of have like this cult following to them, and you kind of have built on that. And then I think that y'all might have something special, and I wish you very, very much luck in the future with your project.
Thank you. I'm glad you know the words to kaiju aiga.
I'm wearing.
Oh my god.
It actually says, "Are you my mommy?" Like they're saying that to Japan.
Awesome. Very cool.
Congratulations on Frowning too, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
I like it a lot.
I just stopped
Short play
motion,
festival earlier today.
which is also another labor of love. Let me tell you.
Claymation.
I love claymation.
Yeah.
I get to see it. I'm sorry.
I'm about to put it online. So.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, we did, this is our last festival, so now I can put it
You
online.
guys will dig it. It's funny.
I want to see it.
It's a serial killer clown. Yeah.
That's cool. Good. Love to see it.
Absolutely. So Millenium Bug, 1 a.m. on Sunday, right here at the Learning Center at the Hyatt, or the Marriott. Where are we? We're in the Hyatt. The Hyatt at the Learning Center.